Hi guys, this is Truth from Were You Interrupted, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm really excited to be doing this. I've been wanting to do it for a while. I actually have another YouTube channel that's a little bit more spiritual, I guess, when it comes to its subject. I do like card readings and like intuitive readings and stuff like that. It's really fun. I wish I could link you guys to it, but I'm really trying to stay anonymous just for now on this channel so I can feel safe to really express myself and tell my story. So, with that said, I guess I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself if you don't know already. I have a Instagram I started. It's at Were You Interrupted, and that's where I've been posting about my journey recovering from narcissistic abuse. It's been really crazy. I mean, this whole journey has just been I don't really know any other word for it. It's been hard, it's been very up and down. It's also been really beautiful and it's revealed so much to me, but I'm sure you guys can all relate. If you're here, you're probably experiencing narcissistic abuse or you're wanting to know more about it. And I'm hoping I can help you guys. I'm not really an expert or anything, but I have been researching now for over 20 months and also with my husband. And he's also a victim of narcissistic abuse or a survivor. Yeah, we've uncovered a lot. I can link you guys to more channels and more resources. I think it's really important to really do the research yourself and trust your gut. If for some reason my channel or anything I say doesn't resonate with you, then trust yourself first. That's the most important thing here. And my intention with this is really just to spread love and light. I'm really hoping I don't trigger you guys too much, but it's just how it's gonna be. So when we talk about this topic, I'll try to do it as gently as possible. My real name is, well, I can't tell you guys, but it's very close to Truth. That's why I call myself Truth. So my parents ironically named me something very close to Truth, and I feel like it wasn't a coincidence, and I feel like there's a reason I was born into this family. I've always been a truth teller, an empath, someone who's cared. It's just my nature, honestly. I'm really good with children and infants. In fact, I worked with them for a long time, and that's how I supported myself after I was kicked out of my narcissistic family. And I love animals, and I love nature, and I'm really into like preserving the earth and everything. I guess I'm a bit of a hippie in that way. And I know I already mentioned like that I'm very intuitive, and I feel like a lot of us who've been through this, we are, like it really awakens that side of us because we have to learn how to predict and, watch our abuser to know what's coming next. And so in a lot of ways, it does make us very psychic and very open and very intuitive. It's very interesting how that works. So I'm going to be using my intuition a lot and when I'm talking about these issues because I feel like they're really worldwide. We're seeing this on a grand scale. This narcissism thing is just really getting out of hand, and it's such an interesting dynamic, the empaths versus the narcs, you know what I mean? Dark and light. It's very iconic, this, like what we're going through right now, and I feel like it's so important. All of us who are coming to peace and healing from this, we play a bigger part in this world and the universe than you think. Peace on earth happens one person at a time. So peace, sorry, I'm a bit tongue twisted. I'm gonna drink some tea. I'm not gonna edit any of this. I want to keep this really authentic. So yeah, peace on earth happens one person at a time. So what we can do to help this world is come to peace. And that's going to be a bigger contribution than you could imagine. Because think about it. If our parents or our lovers or our friends or whoever was narcissistic and abused us, if they had come to peace with themselves, they wouldn't have abused us in the first place, or they would have ceased to, you know what I mean? So I'm doing my children and the future of this world a favor by coming to peace myself and healing these aspects of myself so I can move on and not put any more of that darkness out there. So I really truly believe that narcissists are narcissists because they've lost that connection to themselves and to they're loving themselves and accepting themselves and realizing their connection to everything, the world, the earth, the animals, the plants, other people, because they lack empathy. So they've lost that side. It's like it's broken inside of them. And it's because it all stems from self-hatred. They say that narcissists are obsessed with themselves and like how they look in the mirror. That's kind of a false conception. I'm sure you guys know that if you've done any research. Narcissism is actually like the hatred, self-hatred. to such an intense, extreme level that that's what you're projecting out to everyone else around you. So, you know, if you were the victim of a narcissist, what they were doing is they were projecting like that hatred of themselves and like those darker aspects of themselves onto you. So it's just bizarre. It's a total mindfuck. They gaslight you, they crazy make you, and really that's just how they feel about themselves inside. You know, if they called you a liar, then they probably were a liar. You know, just think about the insults and the things they said to you. That's how they really felt about themselves, or perhaps it's the truth about themselves. As within, so without. I truly believe that. Whatever's going on with you on the inside is going to manifest in your external experience. So, you know, you can really realize from the hell and the chaos that narcissists create what's really going on with them inside of themselves. So, you know, if you can come to peace and if you can heal, that's going to help everyone around you. You know, because this is what happens when you've been abused. You either go on to become another abuser, or you go on and you heal and you spread love and light. That's it. That's your only options. This is either going to defeat you, or you're going to use this as the catalyst for your greatest good and bounce back from that. And I realized that on my journey, and that's why I'm so dedicated and so passionate about healing now. And I truly believe it's part of my mission and my purpose here is to, excuse me, it's kind of early in the morning. I'm drinking tea to open up my voice, open up my throat chakra. Just kidding. Yeah, I truly believe I'm here to help with this. I think it's important that we all focus on ourselves first when it comes to healing from this, and like give ourselves and our inner child all that time and attention we never got from our parents, like reparent ourselves, do all the things that we love. But I think it's also inevitable that you kind of feel a sense of responsibility to spread this awareness, or to just help be kind and like put good vibes out there after going through this hell, because you just know how it is and how many people have experienced this. So yep, this whole experience in a nutshell has really opened my heart. It's really taught me so much. It's set me on a journey of just consciousness and self-awareness, and just learning about my existence and questioning for the first time in my life, like finding myself. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about boundaries, which essentially you have to find yourself in order to have boundaries. So what I'm going to be doing on this channel is answering so many questions that you guys have been DMing me and commenting me. And if you have more questions or something else you want me to talk on, then definitely leave it in the comments below, or just DM me on my Instagram. But today our first talk is on boundaries. So I'm just going to tell you guys what I've learned so far with my experience with boundaries, and I'm still learning about them. So if you guys have anything you want to add below that you learned, or anything you want to chime in on this conversation, please definitely leave it below. And if you guys have anything naysaying to say about this conversation, anything that you don't like about it, then just keep it to yourself, because you know how triggering it is and how mean it is when someone says something just negative to you. Like, I'm just gonna do my best with this and like just be myself. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. And if anyone comments anything like that, I'm gonna assume you're a narc and delete your comment and block you. That's just my disclaimer. That's how I treat my Instagram. I'm like, if you got something nice to say, cool. If you don't, bye. And that's boundaries. That's boundaries, you guys. Okay, let's talk about this now, okay? Boundaries define who you are, first and foremost. You can't really enforce your boundaries if you don't know who you are and like what's up with yourself, because boundaries are a very personal thing. They're different to everyone. So the first thing you got to do when you're recovering from narcissistic abuse is find yourself again. Honestly, a lot of you guys have basically experienced narcissistic abuse in your love relationships, so this is going to make a lot of sense to you. But if for some reason you experience narcissism like in the workplace or with a friendship or your parents or family, then imagine just like a really awful breakup. Afterwards, of course, you're going to be depressed and like not want to get out of bed and like eat a tub of ice cream and stuff. But then you're going to want to get out of the house, and you're going to want to try new things like rock climbing, and you're going to go to the gym and lose 20 pounds, and then you're going to, you know, dye your hair blonde and like do all those crazy things. Or if you're a guy, maybe like you just go on Tinder and like you start putting yourself out there and you meet new people, or maybe you go hang out with some buddies you haven't seen in a while, or you go on a crazy road trip or something. I don't know. I guess it doesn't depend what gender you are. That's not the point I'm trying to make, but everyone has their different ways of, processing these types of events and these things, but one thing that we all share in common is that it seems like after a big event or situation like this, we want to find ourselves again. We want to find out who we are after this context we were in, because we were sucked into that narcissistic paradigm, and they gave us a script, like a role that we had to play. And when we didn't play it, they discarded us. Or maybe we figured it out and we went no contact, and now we're just trying to cover and cope and figure out. Or maybe you're still in contact with your narcissist, trying to figure out how to have boundaries with them. We'll get to that later. But, you're going to want to get out there and explore yourself now after this crazy stuff went down. Like, try new things, like crazy things, like risk-taking, like skydiving, or move somewhere, enroll in some program, or I don't know, some of you guys might not even be feeling like making any commitments, and that's okay, but the point is, you got to get out there and figure yourself out. Learn new things, I tried so many things after I left my narcissist. You guys have no idea. And I never thought I would be doing intuitive readings, or that I'd be painting, or that I would be, that I would get a pet bird and try that. Never thought, never had any experience with them. So just try different things, get a pet, go on a trip somewhere. You're gonna find yourself that way. You're gonna realize, oh, actually, I'm the kind of person that really doesn't like going to the beach at all. I've been a couple times now and I hate it. Or you know what, actually, I really, really love to travel, or I really, really love doing makeup, or I love working on cars and fixing them and tinkering with things and finding solutions. There's so many things you can try. And the narcissists, what they did is they discouraged you from trying new things and from being yourself and from expressing yourself. They basically broke your spirit. That's what gave them narcissistic supply, and also helped them feel better about themselves by putting you down. So you're probably afraid to even leave your house or go outside the door. If that's the case, then go on YouTube and do some tutorials. You can just order shit online, to help you with the tutorials, and do it at home. I know what that's like. I was agoraphobic for a whole year after I got out of this. I was terrified to leave my house, and I'm still really scared to go to the grocery store or travel or be in the car. Even though I like going places, and I'm an Aquarius, it's just a weird PTSD, anxiety symptom, agoraphobia, afraid to be in crowds, social anxiety. That's all totally normal. And I just want you guys to know that I wasn't like this before I woke up to the narcissistic abuse. I was kind of in a fog. I'll tell you guys my story later. It's so long and crazy, but I was in a fog, and I basically became conscious of narcissistic abuse, and then I had always had symptoms of PTSD and anxiety, but they got worse and worse and worse the more I woke up to this, because it was just the horror, and now I'm recovering, and usually it's in your recovery that a lot of the symptoms set in. So if you're like that, you might just be kind of dissociating and just trying to get through each day. You're either stuck in some type of job routine that just is grinding, and you're just Netflix and whatever, or perhaps you're home, or working with kids or something, and that's taking up a lot of your time. But it's important to make that time for yourself, to figure out who you are and explore things. Anyways, I can go off on that for another 20 minutes, but let's move on. So you got to define yourself, and the way that you define yourself is truly through experiences and trying new things and allowing yourself that time to write and to figure things out. However you do that, everyone has their own way to express themselves. I think art really has a lot to do with it. And art can really just be the way that you dress. Maybe some of you guys need to go get a new look and really feel like you've had this big major change. You want to see yourself differently after this. You don't want to see yourself the way the narcissist sees you anymore. So sometimes you got to get a makeover or something. I'm so embarrassed I'm even gonna say this, but I really want to get a wig. I know that sounds crazy, but there's these awesome wigs out there, and I want to get it and just I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to wear it sometimes. So do something crazy. Get a wig or something. Dye your hair, You gotta define yourself. Excuse me. So let's move on. After you've defined yourself and like you know what your boundaries are, because like I like chocolate ice cream can be a boundary. I learned that from watching Teal Swan's videos. Sorry if some of you guys are really religious and you hate Teal Swan or something. That's okay. I've learned some stuff from her videos. That's all I'm saying. I watch all different kinds of speakers and preachers from all different types of backgrounds. But she taught me that a boundary can be, I like chocolate ice cream. It's like, that's a boundary. Like, this is what I am. Like, defines me. Like, this is what I like. Like, you have to figure out what your likes and dislikes are, you know? Moving on to boundaries in the context of relationships. After you know what your boundaries are, sometimes boundaries literally means walking away from certain people. Okay, so let me give you guys a scenario. Let's say that you want no contact with like some old narcissistic frenemy of yours, someone who's like a total just like B, you know what I mean? Just someone who's just messed up and who effed you over really bad. And you woken up and you become conscious and like you've done a lot of healing. You might still kind of have some anger towards this person, and you're hanging out and you're at this party and they walk up to you and you're just taken aback and you're shocked because you weren't expecting on seeing them. And you turn around and they say something really sassy and really catty to you, something that's totally narky. They just open their mouth up and they narc you. What do? Now, there's many ways you can handle this scenario, but how can you handle it with boundaries? You know what? You can just take a deep breath and think for a second. Don't react. You want to respond versus react. That's the most important thing with boundaries and with handling narcissists or anyone. Take your time and think. You know, respond versus react, because what's going to happen is that's going to trigger you and you're instantly going to go into your amygdala and you're going to do fight or flight and you might say something crazy, but honestly it's probably best if you just use that and literally choose the flight. Walk away. You can literally just turn around and walk away, and honestly that's the most badass thing that you could do in that situation, you know. And if everybody around is like, oh my gosh, excuse me guys, still waking up my voice. Drinking some tea. If everyone around you is like, you know, oh my gosh, and like they ask you about it later, you can just change the subject. You don't have to respond. That's a really extreme example, but that's boundaries, you know. Sometimes it literally means walking away from people and situations that you don't feel comfortable with. Let's say that you have been through AA, you know, and you used to drink a lot and you don't drink anymore. If you're in a situation where a party starts becoming a rager and everyone's drinking, or you're at someone's house and everyone's pressuring you to drink for some reason, or you're somewhere where there's a lot of alcohol and it's tempting you, you can literally just leave, you know. That's boundaries, like walking away, like, you know what, I don't do this, I'm not going to tempt myself here. So those are some examples of walking away, and that's what I would probably do if I saw my parents again. I would just walk away. I wouldn't even want to engage them. I know what I'd try to not even show them the look on my face. I don't even want them to see my shock or my horror, because narcissists get off on that. That's narcissistic supply. And some of you guys have got narcs in your life that are that bad that you know you don't want to give them anything and you got to just walk away. Sometimes boundaries means not talking about certain subjects with people. So here's an example. Let's say that you've gone no contact with some family members, or an ex, or like a friend, or whoever, you're a narcissist, and you're hanging out with someone who kind of like remotely knows them, but they don't know that person close enough or good enough for you to actually go no contact, because usually when you go no contact with someone, you go no contact with like most of the people who know them too. Pretty much most people who stay neutral choose sides, because staying neutral is choosing sides. But I'm talking about like, it's like an acquaintance, you know, and someone who's just like, oh, how's so-and-so? You can have a boundary by not talking about that subject with them. So you can approach this a couple ways. You can just gray rock the answer and keep it neutral and change the subject, or you can just not answer at all and change the subject. Sometimes changing the subject is literally just bringing up another topic. Sometimes it's, oh, excuse me, I need to use the bathroom. Sometimes you can use that kind of stuff. I don't know. It gets kind of awkward, but you got to do what you got to do to have boundaries sometimes. And, you know, a lot of times as recovering codependence, because a lot of us who've been in these narcissistic relationships are recovering from, you know, like codependency and attachment disorders and stuff like that, which I know I am. You know, a lot of times you feel so bad about, oh, like, well, what are they going to think? Or I don't want to disappoint them, or I don't want them to get mad at me. But that's all, that's very victim thinking, you guys. That's kind of how the narcissist trained you to think and wants you to think. And you got to realize that you're worth it to have these boundaries. This is what's going to protect you. And I'm going to be real with you guys. It's really tough out there right now in the world. It's also really amazing and really beautiful and really peaceful. But in order to find that peace, you have to have boundaries, because you have to really show others and train them how you want them to treat you. And I've actually had people enforce boundaries with me now that I look back over it, because I didn't know about boundaries and I was raised by a crazy narcissist, so I had the tendency to overshare with people. And I mean, I know that my whole Instagram and my whole YouTube is totally me oversharing, but it's different. Like, when this is in a context, you know what I mean? So, I kind of want to be able to speak freely about this. Like, this is my space to do this, so that I don't go out to, like, people I meet and, like, friends and stuff and tell them about all this. Like, that's my boundary. I don't talk about this and what I've been through with anyone besides my husband or my therapist. And I've learned that the hard way, and we'll definitely talk about that in another video, because I want to make many videos on boundaries. But, yeah, sometimes boundaries is not talking about certain subjects with people, so you might not even want to talk about what happened with narcissism besides anyone from inside this support group, because I really feel like this is a support group, which is why I talk about this so freely, and I encourage you guys to do so. Like, no topic is off limits with me, unless you're naysaying or putting me or anyone else in this group down for what they say. Basically, you can have a free speech here, which is awesome. And I think that's a good environment for narcissism, because you need to be able to talk about it freely, because there's so much that comes up, you know? So that's why you might not want to talk about it with people, because it's triggering. You might get angry, you might start crying, you might start bringing all these weird vibes to people that's really not their place. That's better for your therapist or, like, your closest trusted people, you know? So sometimes you might not want to talk about certain subjects with people for boundaries. Another one is not explaining or defending yourself if you don't feel like it. So sometimes people will ask you a question like, hey, why didn't you come to the party on Friday night? And the reason is because you had a breakdown and you were crying and you had really bad PTSD and anxiety. And you could just be candid and tell the person that, or you can tell them, oh, I had something come up. Maybe this person starts prying, which is like, you might want to red flag this person if they're not accepting, like, you being vague and they're not just trusting in your answers. If they keep prying, that's someone that might have narcissistic tendencies. That's someone that you might want to watch. It could just be completely innocent, but you got to really notice, like, does this person always question me? Because you shouldn't keep anyone in your life that's questioning you all the time about everything you say. And that's something I didn't know. Like, oh my god, you guys, I'm gonna get so pissed off talking about this. Can you tell? Tangent. Narcissists just question every fucking thing you do. Sorry guys, I'm cussing because this is just ridiculous how they do it. You know what I'm saying? Leave comments below if that happened to you, but it's like, why are you going there? Why are you doing this? Why'd you do that? Like, everything. Ooh, like, they're always questioning, like, oh, you chose that as a major? Well, why not this? Or what? It's just, now in my life, like, my husband doesn't really, like, question most of the stuff I do. Like, he just lets me do my thing, and I let him do his thing. I respect him, you know? And any friends, which I don't have many right now because I'm starting over, but any people I've met, acquaintances, business people, friends, they totally respect me and my decisions and don't really question me unless it's like something that has to do with them they have a question about. So, like, I love this feeling of freedom I have, but, you know, sometimes boundaries means not explaining or defending yourself. So if people want an explanation and they want you to, you know, and they're looking for that, you're gonna have to really trust your gut and go within and really figure out, like, is this something I want to do? Like, do I want to explain myself to this person? You know, even if whether or not they deserve an answer or, like, it's justified or it makes sense, because a lot of times narcissists will try to, like, or just people in general will try to like paint that situation almost like they're entitled to that, but like you get to have a boundary and decide, like, do I have the time or do I feel like defending myself or explaining myself? You know what I mean? Especially if it's something that like if you know that you're acting with good intention and like from your heart space, and like you can just trust yourself and know like these people are obviously like reacting to whatever it was you did or happened with their own perception, and like they don't trust you or something, or they're confused, and that's their problem. You know what I'm saying? That sounds kind of crazy and cutthroat. I'm trying to figure out like but sometimes boundaries are. Sometimes it's going to piss people off, and that's the truth. That's what my therapist has been telling me about. I'm not really an expert on boundaries yet. I've still been practicing them, and I'm getting better at it, and I'm seeing way more peace in my life as a result. I'm feeling way more relaxed and free, and it's just amazing. Like, oh my God, you guys, going no contact boundaries, your life is just, it's beautiful after. That's all I can say. So I'm not an expert, but you know, I'm learning about this right now. You know, my therapist talks about this with me every week. She says sometimes boundaries are going to upset people, and it's awkward, and then whatever, you just move on. I guess for example from my personal life, you know, I've had people bring up my sisters, and I'm no contact with them because they chose my abuser's sides, and they kind of are turning into narcissists themselves, and they're flying monkeys, and I just can't trust them anymore. It just got really bad, and if you read through my Instagram, I've talked about it multiple times. It's hard, you know. It's probably one of the hardest things about all this, because I love them so much, and I still pray and hope for them every day that they'll get over their Stockholm syndrome and trauma bonding and kind of wake up and realize they're being abused. But that's a whole other tangent. But you know, I've had friends and people bring up like my sisters, and I've gotten no contact with pretty much everyone. It's just like a couple acquaintances that I have to be in touch with for business, pretty much for work, and that's it. And my long-term plan is actually to move and do my business elsewhere, so I don't have to like talk to anyone who knows my family. And I've changed my last name to my husband's, and I'm just really seriously like full on going no contact. But it's a little bit hard. Like, it's still sometimes people will bring up my sisters or someone, and so I have to literally not explain or defend myself to them. I change the subject. I don't talk about it with them. I have actually decided and trusted my gut to explain like a little bit to some people, like, oh, I'm actually not working with them anymore. It's personal. Like, that's how vague I'll be, and then change the subject. But I won't explain or defend myself if people ask for more information, or if they want me to explain, I don't even want to say that much. So it's really, the point I'm trying to make here is that you have to ask yourself how you really feel and what you really want, what makes you comfortable. Because what happens is that's when you go home and you start overthinking things like what you said. And this is the craziest thing about being codependent and being a people pleaser, is you don't get any sleep. It's stressful. You go home, and at night when you're going to bed, you're overthinking everything you said and did. And the reason you feel uneasy about it, and the reason that's coming up and your consciousness is bringing that to your awareness and your attention, and why you're worrying about it, is because you should, like, it's something you should change. Like, you're not being authentic. You're not being true to yourself. You're only acting based off of what's going to make everyone happy. And now look, don't be hard on yourself, because that was a survival instinct that you formed in childhood. You know what I mean? And that's what kept you alive for so long. Or maybe you formed it in the narcissistic relationship, whatever it was, if it wasn't your family. So it's a survival instinct, but now you can ditch that because you're safe and you're the one who's in control of your life, and you get to create these boundaries for yourself. I'm assuming most of you guys are adults. I know I have a couple high schoolers who are following me. God bless you. I'm so sorry if you're in this situation and you can't move out till you're 18, or you're you know, kind of 19, 20 or something like that, still trying to save up the money to leave. Gosh, just keep going, keep your head down. I'm gonna make a whole video on that. But you know, you still get to ask yourself how you feel and what you really want, and you still get to draw those boundaries. You might have to be like, pick your battles. If you're living with a narcissist, just keep your head down and just try to save up money and just get out. That's a better that's a better way to handle this than trying to have boundaries with your narcissist. So I'm going to make a point now here. You can't have boundaries with a narcissist. That's the reason that they're abusive. Abuse basically violates your boundaries. Like, in order for them to abuse you, they have to violate your boundaries. And even if you try to have boundaries, like, you can't have it with them. So, you know, I'm not saying at all that you guys allowed this abuse. You basically are in a situation where you can't say no to these people, and like, they will violate your boundaries no matter what you do, no matter what you say, and it's dangerous, and the only way to handle the situation is to get away from them. So narcissism is a spectrum, kind of like autism and other stuff like that, and other cluster B personality disorders and other like type things that are like, I have ADHD, and that's like on a spectrum too. I'm kind of high on the spectrum. So I should have told you guys that at the beginning of the video. If I bounce around a lot, I have ADHD. I'm also very hypervigilant because of the abuse, and I have anxiety, so I'm a very high energy person, Aquarius. I'm an air sign. I don't know if that makes more sense now that you guys are listening to this, and I talk super fast, you know. So my therapist really wonders how much of my ADHD is really because of the abuse and how much of it is just innate. But yeah, ADHD is also something that's on a spectrum. So narcissism is on a spectrum, and it's like, my parents were malignant. You have to go no contact when they're malignant. That means that they have absolutely no empathy, and like, they're gonna continue to narc you, and they might fake that they're nice, and they might love bomb you, but it's not real. It's all totally just, they really need help, and they might not even recover. It's one of those things where like, they would need extensive therapy, and that's not your responsibility to help them and like make sure that they get that. Like, that's just, you know. But anyone on the spectrum, you gotta really think, you know, if you have to stay in contact with them because you share kids, I'm so sorry, and you can do the whole gray rock thing, and we're gonna talk about gray rock in another video. That's a way to like handle the narcissist and have boundaries with them, or attempt to, so long as you have to be in contact with them. Or once again, if you economically can't get away from them, money is, you know, saving, you're in the process of, but I believe that where there's a will, there's a way. And I at one point was even on food stamps and on homeless when I was trying to leave my narcissist. So you know, anything is better than a narcissist, and I'm gonna make a video on that too. But you know, you gotta go no contact, and that's a whole other tangent and a whole other topic. But in order to go no contact, you're gonna have to block them, and that's part of having boundaries, is just blocking them, going no contact and blocking all the people that you know choose their side and like, you know, are flying monkeys and are trying to get information from you. Anyone you know, an aunt or a cousin or a whoever that you know is you know, there's a lot of people around the narcissist that are going to be very two-faced, and you're just going to have to be perceptive. It might take time. It took me a year to like figure out who was fine and who wasn't, and it turns out I had to go no contact with like 100 people. I had to go no contact with my parents, the entire cult, anyone I knew from that life, my siblings, all, like most of my old friends who just didn't understand, or who didn't just anyone I felt uncomfortable about, I was just like, you know what, out of my life, because I'm over this, you know. That's the old me, this is the new me, and I only want supportive people around me. So I want no contact with everyone. And so I'm just like in seventh heaven over here, freaking cloud 9, freaking happiness, just rainbows and butterflies and sunshine all up over here in my life now that I don't have any of these crazy people around me anymore. It turns out that there was nothing wrong with me, and my life got dramatically way more peaceful and happy the moment I cut these people out. So I thought that all these problems I had were like mine, which they kind of were in a way, because like I do see in a lot of these relationships how I was very codependent and how I allowed this and stuff, but now I know better, and now I'm more aware, and so I've cut these people out, I've drawn these boundaries, I'm learning more about how to stop attracting abusers and how to have boundaries with people that I start filling red flags with, and it's just been great. And I'm very thankful and lucky to have the support of my husband, and he's helping me with this too, and he's really good at it, and he's getting better, so he's learning about this too. So it's really great. That's just to say, boundaries can really make your life much better, you know? So sometimes you got to go no contact, and in order to have maintenance with that, if they make fake accounts, if they emails that you forgot you had, if they try to reach out in any way, you got to delete the email, don't read it, block it. If they send a letter, rip it up. You might want to consider moving. And if they continue to harass and stalk you, you might even want to consider a restraining order. And just keep notes, and you know, you might want to just take notes every time they contact you, and you might just want to, you know, don't get paranoid or freak out, just move through it, you know? You're just gonna have to be strong, because these people are fucking crazy. Okay, you guys? So, allowing. Look, I want you guys to really listen here. I do not believe that any of you guys allowed the abuse. I don't believe I allowed the abuse, okay? It's not our fault, and this is not victim blaming and shaming at all. This is more for people who have already gotten out of the narcissistic relationships and are in a situation like where I'm at, where like I'm in peace now. I'm kind of more in solitude. I'm safe. I don't have any narcissists in my life. Now, if there was someone who I started feeling red flags with, someone I was trying to make friends with, who started love bombing me and I started getting those gut feelings, who started asking me questions and demanding that I explain myself and defend myself, who started bringing up topics I don't want to talk about, you know, maybe people who start putting me down, basically people who start narking me, I have a choice now, you know, am I going to allow this, or am I going to enforce a boundary? Am I going to walk away? Am I going to change the subject? Am I going to just refuse to explain and defend myself? Am I going to go no contact with this person? You know, it's about allowing at this point, okay? You know, if you know someone's a narcissist, but you continue to let that person in your life, then you're allowing that. You know, if you can't get out of the situation because you're a child, or you're in high school, or you're married and you're trying to like save up money, like penny by penny, or recycling bottles or something to get out of that, like you're not allowing that. Like, you're conscious of it now, but if you just did nothing and continued to make excuses and continued to like, oh, I'm gonna gray rock them, or I'm gonna try to have boundaries with them, and I'm gonna just try my best and see if they get better, I'm gonna see if I can work it out. No, that's allowing. You know what I'm saying? If you're very fully conscious of what's going on in this dynamic, you have a way out if you wanted it, but you refuse to take it, that's kind of allowing. You know, it took me 10 years in order to wake up to the fact that I was being abused and to actually do something about it. So, you know, you watching this video might be part of your waking up process. You know, I'm not saying that you're allowing it, but there comes a point in your consciousness and in this awareness you get to with narcissism, where you realize it's your choice whether or not you're going to engage with them and with this. And that's part of boundaries, is not allowing that any further. And I got to this point where I had to draw the ultimate boundary with my entire family and community and all my old friends, where I had to just go no contact because, you know, I realized that I didn't know any better back in the day. I was raised by these toxic people, so I became very codependent and people pleaser. I was trained, I was brainwashed. It was the only way I knew how to survive. I went out and created more similar relationships and attracted abusers and were drawn to people who were similar to my parents and made friends with people who treated me similarly because it was all I knew. I contributed to the dynamic by oversharing and, you know, there's a lot of things I kind of did too, but it's not my fault at all. You know what I mean? Like, there came a point where I woke up and I realized that if I continued to allow that, my life just wasn't going to go well. And then I started to realize I had a choice, and that's when I went no contact. So that's a process. It takes a while to awaken. Everyone's situation is unique. Everyone's going at their own pace. I don't judge anyone who's still in contact with their narcissist in a situation where perhaps they do have a way to get out. It just takes time, and it's just a process. And I tried to stay in contact with my sisters and my brother for like months. After I went no contact with my parents, until I just realized that they were total flying monkeys, and it's just a process. Sometimes you don't know it until it's too late. We have a lot of hope and faith in people, and it's okay to have that, but, you know, giving people a second chance and all that, but giving people a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 20th, 100th chances is not a good idea. And that's part of the allowing. So I hope that that makes sense to you guys. That's a very sensitive topic, and so I'm just trying to be aware. I hope no one comments below and is like, I didn't allow this. Victim blaming. I'm not victim blaming and shaming you guys at all. No one allows this, and usually you don't realize that you're being abused because abusers freaking abuse you emotionally and psychologically. So it's like a mind fuck. And so you don't understand what's going on, and they get into your brain, and they get all these wires and chemicals crossed with you, and it just gets really crazy. So you're not allowing it, but there comes a point where you wake up and you're, you just know when you're at the point where you're allowing it, and that's where I'm at. So I'm talking about it for anyone who happens to be there, because I know that if I see these red flags with people and I continue to let them in my life, I'm allowing it. And it's happened to me recently. I had this person that I made friends with, and it's just, they were so good at tugging at my heartstrings. They were so good. They were a total narc, and I went through the whole thing, the love bombing, and then that part where the mask falls off, the scapegoating. They started trying to scapegoat me. It was just like, my husband was just like, oh my god, let's just go no contact with this person. How did this happen? And my therapist and I worked through it, and I got narked again, and it was just like, why universe? But it's because I'm learning about boundaries. So allowing. I'm at this place where I'm not gonna allow this shit anymore. It's over this. I'm gonna wrap this up, but the point I'm trying to make with all of this is you have to trust yourself. The narcissist really took away that ability for you to be able to turn to yourself and trust yourself. You just turn to them, and you turn to others, and you turn outward, and you get codependent, after you've been through this. I know that from personal experience. So you have to learn how to trust yourself again. And a lot of times that takes just grounding, and sometimes you have to do affirmations and tell yourself, I'm safe, it's okay, they're gone, I'm here, I everything I'm doing is good, everything I'm doing is all right. Everything that's happening in this moment, I'm okay with and is meant to be, and today I'm safe, and today I choose to be happy. Affirmations like that, will help you trust yourself. And meditating and doing healings and doing therapy and, setting goals and taking little steps to achieve them, and then actually achieving those goals is going to help you trust yourself more. I've been doing that, and my life is just getting so much better, you guys. Oh my gosh, I'm probably going to start crying, but seriously, it's been 2 years pretty much since I've been no contact, and my dreams are coming true. I had these dreams since I was a little girl about the job I wanted to do in this world, and the person I wanted to be, and I'm really making waves in the industry that I'm a part of, and I'm starting to really get noticed and get all this amazing work and job opportunities, and it's expanding so fast, and so it's helping me trust myself more. It's helping me trust this journey more. It's helping me trust that, I don't know, everything that happens for a reason. And it's helping me trust in the personal truths and the spiritual truths I've found. So I'm hoping this journey is helping you learn how to trust yourself more. And it will over time. Just know that. There is a light at the end of this tunnel. If you're still in despair, which I cycle back into at times, there is a light, at the end of this tunnel. And you have to respect yourself, respect yourself for everything that you've been through. This has been a crazy journey, and so boundaries are really about respecting yourself and keeping yourself safe. You've been through so much, you've been through so much, and you deserve the best, and there are healthy relationships out there, and there are amazing people out there, and my husband is proof that there are amazing, loving, kind, generous people out there. His unconditional love is what helped me realize that my family was abusive. I didn't realize it until I realized, you know what? This isn't right how they treat me. He noticed it too, because he loved me so much that he would never talk to me in the ways that they would ever. And he would never treat me the way they had. So it's you get to this point where you need to love yourself, and even if you don't have a significant other or someone else there or family there, respect yourself and give yourself that love that your narcissist didn't give you and never gave you and is incapable of giving themselves. Respect yourself for this journey and everything you've been through, because you don't deserve to go through this again. And that's what boundaries are about. and honor yourself. Honor this the sacredness of who you are, and you're a beautiful person, and you're here for a reason on this planet. That's what I truly believe. And honor yourself and honor your life, and that's what boundaries are. So I hope I've convinced you guys to look into boundaries more and to really think about it. And I'm gonna listen to this video because I made it mostly for me so that I can remember boundaries, because this is something that I'm really working on right now. And I hope that this helps you guys, and please leave any comments you have or any questions you have or any more topics that you want me to talk about. And go easy on me, you guys. I'm going to say it one more time. I'm recovering from narcissistic abuse, so just please say nice things if you're going to say anything at all. Because this is, like, I'm really opening up my heart and soul here. So I really appreciate you guys, and seriously, you guys following me has changed my life, and it's helped me heal, and I just want to give back. And I'd love to be linked to any of your YouTube channels or any of your blogs. Anything that I'm missing. If I'm not following you back on Instagram, then DM me and just tell me to follow you, and I'll follow you. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not trying to, like, oh, I only follow this many people, or I only follow less people than follow me back. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'll just follow you back if you want me to. So if that's important to you, I'd love to hear what you have to say too. And yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I hope that this helped you guys. Peace out.